GoLoud.
Welcome back to the Weekly Roast. How's it going, guys? How the hell are you? How are your hearts? And of course, as we approach the festive season, take a second to ask yourself, how are your heads? Guys, what's going on? Welcome to episode 40 of the Weekly Roast. And not only that, but welcome to Apple Podcasts' top new podcast of 2024, the Weekly Roast.
Yo!
How's it going, guys? I was about to do my introduction to Kieran, but I received some hate mail on the weekend.
Oh.
I won't go as far as hate mail. I received a message from a woman, and she said that she adores the podcast, but the only thing about it that she doesn't like is the way that I introduce you. Our producer, our beautiful producer, Kieran. So, that's the end of it now. Just because this one person is cractose and lactose intolerant, I can never introduce you again as my bonnet-wearing, Bonya boy, mauling on my massive milkers. So thanks for the memories. I hope you enjoyed the memories, Kieran. From now on, you're just a baby little boy poking on my No. Welcome back to the Weekly Roast, guys. I want to say thank you so much for listening to the show. The last few weeks have seen some exponential growth of the podcast, so I am aware that there are a lot of new listeners, and I would like to say that you are very welcome. Honestly and truly, you are sincerely welcome to the show. Every week, we take voice notes from people all over the country and the UK and beyond. We hear the things that you like to roast the most, and then we will respond to them. Your anonymity is totally preserved, as due to the voice-changing wizardry that our breast-suckling boy, Kieran, performs in the studio in between slurps of my chest. So, that's the Weekly Roast. You're very welcome. Now, before we get into Gullible People, which are the subject of today's show, I will say this, okay? As a reminder, just as a little public service announcement as we approach the Christmas season, okay, Kieran?
Mm-hmm.
Escalators. We need to talk about escalators. Escalators are the slowest conveyor belt of human stupidity known to man in Irish culture, okay? As a race, Irish people seem to have a national incapacity to navigate our way down escalators in a normal... This Friday the 29th, okay, guys, is the most important day of the year. It's the general election, okay? Now, if only even one of the convoluted manifestos and vague ideologies published by the various parties contained a commitment to actioning change when it comes to shopping centre etiquette, they would have my vote. Stand on the right. Move on the left. It's not that complicated. Why is it that people don't know how to go down escalators? Stand on the right, move forward on the left, just like the way teenage me viewed politics. If you're on the right, you're standing still, and if you're on the left, you're moving forward. It's very simple. It's the only cultural behaviour that I feel we should ever aspire to inherit from our friends in the United Kingdom is their ability to walk down escalators in an efficient manner. And by the way, I will finish on this. Standing at the bottom of the escalator and not moving out of the way should be an arrestable offence. Gone. Straight away. A taser to the armpit, folded in half like a Turkish rug and dropped off in a collection bay area just beside the car park. You are incapable of doing normal things like normal people, and you should be punished accordingly. Would you agree?
I agree.
Good to have you on board, my boy. Now also, by the way, we're here to talk about Gullible People. Gullible People, guys, exist in all walks of life. There are many grown adults masquerading as functioning members of society, yet are still more gullible than 4-year-old boys or the average tax-paying American, okay? As you all know, and I've mentioned this story on the podcast before, we convinced this guy in our year that there was like an oral exam in the English junior cert. Do you know what I mean? How was that going to work? Like, hello, my name is Beach. When the weather is, Paul, I like to go to the guitar with my Friday. It's the roast of Gullible People, guys. As always, if you like the pod, please show us some love. Please subscribe to the podcast, follow the podcast wherever you get it. And most importantly, the one surefire way to help us is to spread the word and share the podcast with a friend. So thank you so much for all of your support. You don't realise how much it means to me. Thank you so much. It's the roast of Gullible People. Let's go.
Hey Mark, so took the mother to New York for a couple of days, and we're walking there in the Rockefeller Centre, and she was ahead of us, and she turned around and she said there was a few homeless people with placards, and she said, God, I can't believe, the education they have, that they're homeless, and with the price of Otto's bills. Otto was our dog. And we were like, what are you talking about, Mum? And she said to us, the amount of homeless vets in New York. She thought the vets, because the placard said ex-vet, were veterinarians.
No, your mum's not that naive. I do not believe that your mum... What would happen to your mum in New York if somebody was to come up to her in the dark of night and say, me and my dogs want to have a word with you down this alley? Oh, I better bring my purse just in case they want some treats. They want treats, all right, Anya. Middle-aged Irish women in New York, it's a very disarming place for them, let's be honest. They get ID'd in a restaurant. Oh, Enrique. Oh, I'd like to bring you home in my suitcase. That's a crime. Human trafficking is a crime, Blonid. Now sit down and eat your dinner. Oh, the portions. Oh, God, do you ever get that? Oh, the portions are just mad over here. You're the one that ordered the maple syrup steak frite for breakfast. You know what I mean? It's not the portion control. You're not giving out about the salad. Don't hate the waiter. Hate the shame. Nevertheless, okay, the homeless vet. I'm sure that there are some homeless veterinarians, by the way. Certainly not in my area, because the last time we brought Bertie to the vet, it was like, oh, I think he's got a cough. That'll be €1,300. Do you have insurance? That'll be €1,500. The pet game and the wedding game, I think, are the two biggest cowboy country. Pet game, wedding game, and what else is another one? I suppose interiors, anything house related, but games wherein they know that the punter doesn't have a clue how to do the thing. Like a wedding. Oh, hi, we're looking to get some draping done behind the top table. Behind the top table? Oh, wow. Well, that'll be $7,500. Sorry? Madness. Nevertheless, your mum, God love her. I hope she got on okay in New York. What I like about this one is that your mum is clearly one of those people that just likes to see the best in others. And like, she'll kill me for saying this, but my mum is one of those people as well. My mum is the most pure of heart. Just always will only... She is empathetic to her detriment almost, okay? I will never forget the day I was coming home from Brighton for a weekend, okay? And it was whenever the RTE news guy on the ice was going viral, okay? Which I just thought this was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. As many of us did whenever it came out. And me and my younger sister were laughing about it. And Mum came in from work. And then I was like, yeah, Mum, get a load of this. And I showed it to her on her phone. And I just looked over and I could see her shoulders were shaking, right? And I was like, oh, she's loving this. And then she turns around and she was crying. And she was like, Mark, Mehigan, I'll just never understand the sense of pleasure you'll get out of other people's misfortune. And she was crying her eyes out. And then she evolved into the most terrifying state an Irish mother can reach is whenever they're crying and angry at the same time. And she was like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you. Nevertheless, whatever.
So, back when you were in school and some random bloke decided to come up with the myth that lilt would reduce your swimmers, and then everybody that you knew, it was like this kind of thing that everybody knew at that age in schools, and then everyone was all drinking lilt, and then the myth was that lilt went their production because of that. So, sounds about that.
Yeah, did you have that, Kieran?
Oh yeah.
Lilt killing your sperm. I love the way it's as if like teenage guys were so careful and delicate about other people's genitals. They'd be like, did you know that lilt kills your sperm? By the way, I'm going to Mickey whip you. Did you have Mickey whipping?
Yeah, it's called sacking.
You had sack tap. Was sack tapping or just sacking?
No, it's just sacking.
Just sacking. Jesus. Well, we admit it's sort of you fashion your fingers, you loosen your fingers, and then you make a whipping motion, and then you tap the sack. And for listeners here who don't have testicles, you get hit in the balls by the hand, and there's a sweet sensation of about 10 seconds wherein you think you've evaded the pain, and then your lower stomach, the cramp. Oh, it's horrific. But yeah, lilt, never scientifically proven to deplete your sperm count. Another one that used to do the rounds was chewing gum is made of cat's liver. That was a big one when we were in school. Did you have any?
You could never swallow chewing gum.
You don't swallow, no?
It'd stick to your heart.
You're more of you spit rather than... Brilliant. I just don't understand how this stuff does the rounds. I mean, Facebook has made the whole thing worse. Do you remember the era of Facebook when it was like a random picture of a child would go around and the caption would be like, doctors in Mumbai have said that Rahul, age 7, needs a new face, but will only perform the surgery if this gets 72,000 retweets and 10,000 shares. And everybody going, please share, have a heart. He has about 3 hearts by the sound of that caption. And also, this isn't real, okay? As if there was a queue outside this doctor's office longer than bloody Shantaram of people, that's a book by the way, of people needing surgery. And there he's saying, no, unless you get 50,000 retweets, get that child and 6 separate faces out of my sight. These doctors should be fucking struck off. Also, I was talking to that child the other day and he was very two-faced. Terrible. Let's go.
Greetings, Mark. Right, this is a good one. A while ago, I met a girl in a pub in Dorky. Got on well, had a bit of fun, and thought to myself, let's go on a second date. So I booked a weekend away in Inchydonny Island and said to her, we're going away on a surprise weekend. She said, yippity-doo, and packed her bags. So as we're driving through Cork, we approached the Jacklange Tunnel, and she started going, oh my God. I said, what? She said, you'll bring me to France. I said, what do you mean? She goes, this is that tunnel thing. So I was obviously gobsmacked, and I said, yes, we're going to France. As we approached Clonakilty, I said, just to let you know, the tunnel goes from the UK to France, and we're going to Inchydonny Island. Needless to say, we drove home in stony silence, and we never had a third date.
I think this is a record for the first time a voice has contributed to the show, which is more of a South Dublin accent than mine. Secondly, good God. Oh my God. Believing that the Jacklange Tunnel is the tunnel to France that's outrageous. Like, that is pretty spectacular in its naivete. Firstly, Inchydonny, one of my favourite places on planet Earth. One of the greatest places. It's, out from Clon, out to Inchydonny. That's my dream day. If I die on the weekend, if I knew I was dying this weekend, it'd be drive down to Clon, out to Inchydonny for a walk, then all the way around over to the Dunmore Hotel, then out to Ardfield, Long Strand, the dream. Best part of the world, West Cork. Okay, back to this loon. This, somebody who falls, or I wouldn't even say fall for that. Like, this is less gullible and more just like, do you have an IQ of 23? Because, I mean, how could you possibly think that tunnel is going to bring you to France? Whenever you hear of people falling for like the Nigerian scams, and you think, who could be that foolish? This woman could, evidently. Those emails. Yeah. Am I allowed to do the act? Those emails and it's like, any email, I'm going to do it. Any email that begins with like, hello, my dear. Dearly beloved. If the email begins with dearly beloved, okay, you're either getting married or you're getting scammed. Dearly beloved, I am in dire need of assistance. Basically, the noble Prince Abu has been overthrown. The good news, however, beloved, is I am a trustworthy attorney to the law, and he has left me in charge of a small amount of monies. The only catch is I do not have a Revolut account. So, my precious beloved, if you send me your sorte code and IBAN number for this small inconvenience, Prince Abu is willing to give you the fee of $72 trillion and 59 cents. You don't say $79 trillion and the 59. You've lost me. Dearly beloved, I hope in this good greetings, Mark. Good greetings, Mr. Mark. I hope this email finds you well. Who was falling for that? Also, if you're getting $72 trillion, who's going to ask for the 59 cents on top? Pick a reasonable number. The only thing that I really feel like the biggest deterrent to these scammers is, sure, the sum of money that they use is so astronomically large. You'd have more chance getting me if it was 500 quid. $72 trillion is amazing. Hello, my baby boy, Kieran. I would like you to take a mouth and put it on my boob. Drink my milk, little baby, like a serpent. Like a snake, a serpent. Okay, good luck. Let's go.
This is obviously really stupid, but we've got a friend from Derry, and so we convinced one of our friends that the girl from Derry, her first boyfriend was Rory McSorley, aka Frostbit Boy. I won't do the impression because I'll butcher it. But we also convinced her that it ended terribly, and under no circumstances do you ever bring this up around her. So since then, we've heard her mentioning to like strangers at parties, don't bring up Frostbit Boy in front of everyone just in case, like warning people about it. But then off topic, because I was Googling this and I just found out that in 2021, Rory McSorley was down in Kerry and he got swept out to away from shore, ended up spending 12 hours in the water before he got rescued, which is pretty funny because I think he got hypothermia, so you wouldn't be long getting frostbite. And then also he was engaged to a 75-year-old woman, but unfortunately the wedding didn't go ahead because your woman died. He described himself as a senior sexual. So yeah, bizarre fella.
Okay, well, I was not expecting that extent of Frostbit fan fiction on today's show. Nevertheless, rest in peace to his former fiancée. Now, I think that, the lie is very good in terms of the original lie to the friend about Frostbit Boy. If you do anything in life, Kieran, in a convincing manner, people are going to go for it. That's just, if you're trying to get in somewhere, you're trying to sneak in somewhere, you want to walk into a bar, just act convincing and you will get away with it. I'm going to have to mention this story. OG listeners to the podcast or OG followers of me will be aware of this, but I don't really like psychics, okay? let's just say I'm more than skeptical. I was having an argument with a friend of mine about this in 2021, about how I am very, very skeptical of fortune tellers, clairvoyants, psychics, palm readers and all the rest. And he was saying, no, you're completely wrong. Everybody in my family sees a psychic and she predicts all the maddest stuff, like there's going to be a mad in your life, there'll be a change on the horizon, all these things that are really unique to them. Anyway, we had this bet and he was like, go and see a psychic and I guarantee you that, you can't trick a psychic into whatever. So I did some research and I found out about a TV psychic called Sally Morgan. Psychic Sally, she's known as, and apparently she was very famous in the UK throughout the 90s. And I sent her, she does this psychic reading thing in a magazine called Chat, It's Fate. Chat, It's Fate. It's a really highbrow readership with stories such as like, help! Me gardener chopped me tits off and left them in a wheelbarrow. And it's called like Lawn Mower or so, I don't know, just complete the Lawnster Monster or something, like just complete slop. Anyway, I wrote in a letter to Psychic Sally from my own personal email, Mark Mehigan, and I included a picture of Joseph Kony, okay? For those of you that don't know, Joseph Kony, who was born in 1961, was a Ugandan militant and warlord who founded the Lord's Resistance Army, which basically popularised child soldiers, and he's been wanted by the UN and all the rest for years. You will remember Joseph Kony from Find Kony. Anyway, I sent in this picture to Psychic Sally and I said, Dear Sally, please find attached a photo of my granddad Joey when he was in his youth in Africa. I never got to know him personally, but I believe he was an adventurer with a competitive spirit. I'm no longer in touch with that side of my family, but sometimes I wonder what advice Joey would give me now if he was alive. Yours, Mark, West London. So I just sent that out into the ether and didn't think I'd ever hear anything back. 2 weeks later, I get an email from Sally, Psychic Sally, by the way, Psychic Sally, who can see the future. Dear Mark, what a truly wonderful... By the way, in the photo of Joseph Kony, he's wearing military garb. He's literally wearing, he's got the full war outfit on. Dear Mark, what a truly wonderful photograph of your granddad Joey. Like you, I get a sense of his strength of mind and his generosity of spirit towards others. Well, His spirit energy most definitely is able to be around you still, especially when he is within your thoughts. I can see that he is guiding you, is he? And insisting on your honesty, well, loyalty and duty. Well, now you might have a point. We all struggle with certain challenges in life, and your grandfather knows all about yours so well, and sometimes to overcome the difficulties thrown at him. Therefore, he will definitely guide you and help you make decisions that you find difficult. Your grandfather would love you to feel that you had some sort of contact with his side of the family. Although at times he could be a little bit difficult and a loner, he felt dutiful towards his family and would help them in any way he could have. He talks about your mother and how important it is to listen to her and show support and kindness to her at difficult times. I do hope you have this picture in a frame where it can be seen as old times as a picture, as pictures create such a positive energy and help with memories of loved ones past. I replied to that. Hi, Sally. Thank you so much for this warm message. As a child, I would always soldier on whenever thoughts of Joey popped into my mind, but I had a huge sense of freedom feeling after hearing what you've just said. My mother does not like talking about him at all and sometimes would even refuse to admit that he was real. So now I'm going to make a big effort to reconnect with her and do some listening instead of talking. I've got a great frame for this gorgeous picture of my Uncle Joey and will be hanging it in my living room beside my Uncle Joseph and Father Iddy. Thank you so much, Sally. It's given me a huge sense of comfort. And that's the game. Oh my God. Okay, guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode of The Weekly Roast. This is potentially one of my favourite episodes of all time. Also, I would just like to say the context for this episode beginning is that I released my first bit of bonus content onto the Patreon last week, which is patreon.com/Mark Mehigan. Every week I'm going to be releasing bonus content there, exclusive articles, and giving you access to things you will get access to nowhere else. So if you're a fan of me, if you're a fan of the show, or if you enjoy my writing from the book or from the image articles, please subscribe to my Patreon because you'll get a brand new article each week. First one's already out and the next one's coming on Friday. But the first one that went out was I was answering a question from a woman and she said, help, I can't stop cheating with my ex or sleeping with my ex. What do I do? And I posted this on Instagram and a woman wrote back to me going, I thought you were getting married in a month, with an angry emoji face. As if I was going to post on Instagram, hiya guys, listen, need a bit of help here. I can't stop bloody sleeping with my ex. Any thoughts? Nevertheless, welcome back to The Weekly Roast. It's great to have you here. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe. Follow me on Instagram @MehiganMark. And always, you know what I'm about to say. If you enjoyed today's episode, please send me a message on Instagram and tell me which parts you enjoyed. I have an enormous ego, but I'm still cripplingly insecure and I love hearing from you. All the best. Let's go.
My mom loved cleaning and loved a clean toilet. So she used to put domestics down every few days to make sure they were spotless. And to stop us going to the toilet, she used to say that while the domestos was in the toilet, if you peed, snakes would come out of the toilet and crawl up your bum. So we wouldn't go. And then even as an early teenager, I was like, I know that's not real, but what if it is? And I used to have a thing about when there was cleaning products down the toilet. I'd flush it first before going. Yeah, very strange.
People think millennials are a bunch of snowflakes with our anxiety and our mental health issues and our desire to discuss emotions openly and normalise vulnerability. This is why. We were told snakes would go up our bums and eat us from the inside out. There isn't a chaise long enough for us all to sit down and collectively sift through the various arse-related truths and traumas that we have from our childhood. This is, as you might say, my boy, pucker up those milky lips and put away the breast for a sec. This is surely you're taking the parenting too far when you're telling your children that they'll have snakes crawling up their bums. This is snakes crawling up your arse. Good stuff. Doctor, there's a reptile in my rectum and I think I need some therapy, do you know? This is fucking mental. Anything animal related as a child is just terrifying. Did you ever have that fear? I can still get it, by the way. The 4 a.m. hallucinatory terror that you think you've heard the pitter-patter of a rodent's footsteps across the floorboards. Oh, yeah. And you have to fucking turn the room upside down. That happens to me still.
Or in the roof.
Oh yeah,
Or on the
yeah.
walls.
Yeah, on to the windows, to the walls, till the strap drops down your balls. Oh, these motherfucker! Easy. The ADHD is kicking in crystal cleasy. Okay, but that's a terrifying fear for a child, to think that a snake's going to come up their bum. Do you know what I mean? Up there that's like probably perched on top of the pyramid of Irish prepubescent fears was anything bum related in terms of like your bum falling off or a snake going up it. Up there with the man in the van, just the man in the van coming to get you. There will be a man in the van coming to get you, or you're going to go to jail for turning on the back light in the middle of the car. They were the sort of the three main ones. But now apparently we've got snakes going up our arses to contend with too. This is why we're a lost generation. This is literally why we are a lost generation. There's a snake in my bum. That's not a snake, Sheriff Woody. Andy just lost his fleshlight. No. No, you can't. Okay, last thing on the snakes. I was thinking about this recently. Do you remember when people used to go on holidays in the 90s and get pictures with snakes around their shoulders? What was that about?
Or parrots on their shoulders.
Parrots, or such mixed messaging from Irish parents like, don't take sweets from strangers, okay, but by all means, if a man approaches you on the boardwalk of a foreign holiday destination with a reptile the size of our cul-de-sac wrapped around his shoulders, give him a fiver and get your picture taken. See if there's a parrot doing the rounds either, do you know? Completely mental. If you really wanted to fondle a semi-sedated serpent on holidays, you should have gone down to Three Lions English pub and brought home a bloke called Craig from Scunthorpe after 8 pints of Carling. Do you know what I mean? Craig's one of those guys who wears so much aftershave you can practically fucking hear it. And he keeps telling you that he works in finance. But we all know he's just another crypto king without a crown. Let's go.
I also just thought of a story. I'm a teacher and I was in the class one day, this was years ago, and this kid came up to me and she was telling me this gorgeous story about how her sister who lived abroad came home to surprise her mum for Christmas, and she walked in the door and they were all crying. They were so happy. They went out to Christmas markets at the weekend. They did all this amazing stuff, and I was like delighted for them because she'd be always talking about how she missed her sister and she lives abroad, and I was like, that's so amazing, great. And then at home time went to like walk them out and like went up to her mum and I was like, oh my god, isn't it so gorgeous that your sister or your daughter is home for Christmas and she surprised you? I'd say that was lovely. And the mum just turned around and like gave the daughter a look and was like, are you lying to your teacher? And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I just believed a 6-year-old on this big made up story. Amazing.
Please put your phone on silent in the future when you're contributing to the show. Nevertheless, no, I'm joking. I will say this. I'm reluctant to make too much fun out of this because is there not something a bit poignant about this child creating this lovely fantasy of the sister coming home and them having a very wholesome Christmas together? I find that a little bit... Getting called out, what I will say is getting called out by your parent for lying or showing off as a child, that was a fate worse than death. There was nothing worse if you had friends over or something and you're acting Billy Big Balls around the house and then your mum or your older sister would say, oh, would you ever stop showing off, Mark? I'm not. Oh, Mum, I'm not showing off. Firstly, you've ruined my life. And secondly, answer the question. Do you know where my fire breathing kit is, Mum? Do you know what I mean? As a child, I feel like there's just so much. There was actually lots of gullible things as kids we had to contend with. Did you have chainmail? Do you remember chainmail on like MSN, or if you had a Hotmail account and it was like, you have to forward this to at least 100 friends or else 1,000 ghouls will eat your willy. Like it was just, or I remember the other big one was the first, like, as we dipped our toes into what would become the troubled waters of social media, Bebo. Do you remember you'd get those chain messages and it would be like, if you don't change your Bebo flashbox to this video, a spooky little goth girl will appear at the end of your bed at 12 minutes past 12 and slowly crawl towards you. At the age of 14, I remember thinking, a girl coming into my bedroom in the middle of the night? This doesn't sound that bad. Where do I sign? Do you know what I mean? A little goth girl coming into my bedroom in the middle of the night. How is that supposed to be scary? This sounds pretty good. Do you know what I mean? This is what I've been dreaming about most nights. How is this a bad thing? A spooky little goth girl. I'm a spooky chubby little goth boy. Let her in. I'll show her my collection of Kerrang magazines and we can discuss Slipknot, you know? Maybe argue over whether Joey Jordison, rest in peace, will make a decent record with the Murder Dolls, or what Corey Taylor's plans are with Stone Sour. And hopefully we'd smooch. Speaking of Gullible, I do remember a guy that I lived with, Stephen Kelly, or I didn't live with him, he was on my estate when we were growing up. And I remember one time telling him, we were discussing anatomy, we were like 5 or 6, and I was telling him all that I knew and he was telling me all that he knew. And then we came over and we were standing at the bottom of the stairs and he shouted up, I'll always remember this, "Mum!" And she was like, "Yes? Mum! Yes? Mark Mehigan says that a girl's willy is called a Wendy." And it still is, by the way. On we go.
My sister thought that blowing her nose would make it fall off. So to this day, she's 34 years old, she still cannot blow her nose. The same sister thought that the old man that sat behind us at Mass every Sunday was God. Actually, him.
Okay, this is a good one. I will say, in this child's defence, again, me, defender of the children in today's show, thank God. I will say in this child's defence, I remember as a boy, I don't know if you're with me on this, Kieran. I remember as a boy being very confused and horrified at the noise levels some men could blow their nose with. Do you know what I mean? Like, the sort of... the decibels reached by pensioners when blowing their noses were saxophonian at times. You wouldn't get those highs in a symphony of wind instruments. You know, some of the granddads doing the rounds at mass and funerals and month's minds, they're essentially yodeling out of their nostrils. You know the one, you know those huge ones, like they're trying to get rid of their eyeballs, like that. What's that bugle noise they use in the military? Some of the noises, it's like they get these huge big, you know the way they take the hanky out and you can see the sort of, no, but they take the hanky out and these huge big bellowing guffaws into their sneezes, like a mating call for those interested in Murray Mince and watching Countdown. Do you know what I mean? Like, and every time they sneeze, it's as if they're doing it for the first time. You know, they're equal. You know, well, I want to stand away from the mic, but it's like, whoa! You know that like insanely loud granddad sneeze chewing into his hanky. Mass is a place of worship. Let me be very clear. Mass is a place of worship, okay? But not just for those who believe in God, also for those with abnormal nose-blowing techniques. It's where the real honkers go to fraternise. Think about it. You go to someone's funeral and in between the murmured responses, okay, and the occasional phone going off, which still inexplicably has hurdy-gurdy as the ringtone. Do you remember that ringtone? Kieran's like, what time are we finished recording that today? But you'll always get one oafish old man in his late 60s hock chewing his way into his hanky, do you know? Anyway, look, as for God sitting beside her, who are we to say what is or isn't God? Because for us to suggest what God isn't would be to suggest that we know what God is. So in this case, I will reserve my judgment, okay? Perhaps that man was God, or maybe just a god to her. Or perhaps he was just the local barfly Bernard coming in to pilfer a few euro out of the candle shrine before O'Neill's opens at 12. Do you have a normal sneeze? I'd say you have a little... You know those ones that be... Like those, that's a real part.
Oh, she's always giving out to me because I sneeze too loud.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you go for the pre? I go for the sort of pre or like that.
I wind it up.
Do you?
Amen, brother.
Let's go, baby.
Hi, Mark. So, my mum used to tell people she was having an affair with Brian O'Driscoll. She then told my uncle's friend that he used to come in his helicopter at night and pick her up at our local soccer pitch, and they would go off for the night and he would then drop her back. My uncle's friend fully believed her that this was actually going on. We live in a rural part of Mayo, so we have absolutely no connection to Brian O'Driscoll at all. My mum passed away 7 years ago, and to this day, my uncle's friend has no idea that it was a lie, and she still fully believes it.
Look, this is the winner for me. I absolutely love this. Firstly, may your mother rest in peace. You know what? I find that to be such a lovely legacy to leave. You know, your mum clearly had an amazing sense of humour, and just that, I love that. I really and truly, like, that's the sort of thing that I'd love to leave a legacy similar to that, where you've just wound up a few people and they never know the difference. I mean, it's just so totally absurd. Having an affair with Brian O'Driscoll, okay, international rugby player, potentially top five, definitely top five Irish sports people of all time. Yeah, I would say so. Brian O'Driscoll embodying some sort of like Robert Redford character in An Indecent Proposal. You know, Amy and the kids left at home of a Friday night, so Brian can nip down to Mayo in the chopper, you know, which he assumably just drives himself, to then whisk away. He lands the chopper at the centre of the local GA pit, which is the least focal entrance into the philandering market of all time, to then whisk away a married Mayo woman, ravishes her for an entire night, and then drops her back all in time for training the next day. Good God, go on, bod. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is, I love that. It's just, oh, did I tell you actually, Sarah's thinking of moving to Australia? Yeah, she is, yeah. Did I tell you I was having an affair with Brian O'Driscoll? No, you didn't. Sounds reasonable though. Continue. Yeah, no, he flies down in his chopper every Friday, and then we ride in a field nearby, and then he heads back and off he goes. Sorry. Temporary digression here. Helicopters. Death traps. I have one of the very few vehicles that I feel very strongly about. Helicopters. And I often bring this up, and I'm going to put it on record here. My theory is this. Every 18 months, there is a very famous and well-documented fatal helicopter crash. Well, they're all fatal, by the way. No, nobody survives a helicopter crash. There is, every 18 months or so, there is a very high-profile, by the way, fatal helicopter incident. You look at the last 3 years, you've got Kobe, of course, you've got the owner of it, was it Leicester Football Club? Do you remember the helicopter was coming up off the pitch and then crashed into the car park, and 4 souls on board died? So that's and they're only the ones that we're hearing about. So can you imagine how many helicopters must crash? I just think helicopters are the most lethal thing in the world. And that's brought me to yet another digression on the never-ending meandering trail of thought that is the ADHD. How come whenever people die in airplanes, they say souls on board? They don't say people. It's 47 souls on board. Isn't that weird? The way they only use it. They don't. And if a ship sinks, they don't say soul. Oh, do they? No, they say lives lost at sea. So if anybody listening to this podcast can please tell me what that is, let me know. And to this woman, legend, absolutely love it. Do you know what we should try and do before Christmas? We should try and get a signed picture of Brian O'Driscoll sent to this girl as a Christmas present. That'd be class. Let's try and do it. Kieran's nodding at me. He's made it happen. He's putting his reputation on the line. Okay, on y va. Vas-y. Guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode of The Weekly Roast. Every Wednesday, we discuss the woes of the world. And furthermore, if you enjoy my writing, The Weekly Woes is out every Friday on patreon.com/Mark Mehigan. The link is in the bio of this episode. I know people don't like subscribing to things, but it would mean the world to me if you did. Click the link. It takes 90 seconds. And if you show your support, if I've brought a laugh to your life over the last few months, please consider subscribing. Thanks so much. Okay, final section, my friends. Let's get into it. As always, please share the show with your mates and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. All the best. Let's go.
So when we were younger, our dad used to tell us that if you untie your belly button, that your bum would fall off. So you best believe we never let anyone near our belly buttons. Not that that's kind of a normal thing to want anyone to go near. And then if you're being bold or anything, if the threat of untying your belly button came near you, it would be the same level of fear that you get when someone's chasing you up the stairs.
Okay, it's completely insane. Your dad is a loon. You know, Darren's dad, this is the funniest thing ever, and she won't mind me saying this in the show. Eugene told Darren and her sisters growing up that when Whitney Houston was singing, you know, The Bodyguard, the movie, obviously, and Whitney did the theme for it, I Will Always Love You. Eugene said to the 3 girls that that was Whitney singing to him. And they used to hate Whitney Houston as a result, because they were like, she's trying to take him away from mum. Oh, so cute. The untying the belly button, no. Here's one for you. Now, Kieran, I know you're not a doctor, if there's one thing I know about you, it's you're not a bloody doctor, okay? If I put my finger in my belly button, a bit of wee comes out.
What?
Genuinely.
Do it now.
No, already am. No, but if I'm standing up, if I'm going to, this is genuinely true. Any man listening, please come back to me. Anybody with a penis listening, please come back to me and tell me if this is true or not, or if this happens to you. If I'm standing over the toilet urinating, okay, but if I poke myself in my belly button, my willy twitches, and there's something going on
I
there.
think you're broken.
Well, we know that on chapter 7 of my book, actually. Still available, bestseller. Yeah, okay, yeah, untying your belly button. Are you an innie or an outie?
Innie.
Yeah, I'm an innie as well.
I'm normal.
What's the difference, or why? Is there a reason, or is it just sloppy craftsmanship by the surgeon? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's the sculptor, sometimes it's the marble, baby. Only that.
My ma used to say since we were small, like babies, there's a cake in the fridge. Yeah. And you'd go out and have a look, right? And as soon as she'd hear you open the fridge, she would laugh her head off and you'd be absolutely fuming, right? So she'd still do it like a few months later. She'd be like, oh, Emma, there's a cake in the fridge. And you'd say, oh, I'm not looking. No, you're telling lies, ma'am. There's nothing in the fridge. And she'd go, do you know what? It's going to happen one of these days and there will be a cake in the fridge and you won't look. And still to this day, like she'll do it to me and my brothers. And if she's like, oh, there's a cake in the fridge, we're like, fuck off, there's no cakes in the fridge.
Yeah, I love this. I absolutely love this. Although, oh God, it reminds me of, I remember one Christmas years and years ago, my younger sister, a tiny little dote of a thing. The gullible thing is we convinced her, I think I've said this in the podcast before, we convinced her until she was about 15 that she was the girl on the Crunchy Nuts ad. Or no, the cornflakes ad. You know, the little blonde girl with the bowler haircut. Because my younger sister was the image of her and she actually used to do ads and stuff as a kid. But we convinced her that she was in the cornflakes ad. But I remember one time at Christmas, we were like, all the kids and all the cousins were, you know, playing in one of the rooms. And my younger sister ate the curly whirly out of my selection box. And me and like the older cousins said that she was going to have to go to jail and give all of her Christmas presents back.
Oh.
And like, I'd say once every 6 months I think about that and I actually get a pang of remorse in my stomach that almost doubles me over because her little face, the innocence of like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, and then like trying to hand back the curly whirly because there's like a little bit left. It's actually the most heartbreaking thing. It's one of the worst things I've ever done. The only bad thing I've ever done. There's a cake in the fridge. Stop falling for it. But also I love the sound of your mum. Let's hear more from her. Oliva.
Okay, so there was a secretary in a place where I used to work, and myself and my work pal decided for a laugh, because she was very gullible, that we'd tell her that Lisa Smith from ISIS had been moved to the estate where work was, like in suburban Waterford, under witness protection, and we'd seen her driving around the place. And so that was grand. We told her that. She was very shocked. And then the next day we got hauled before our manager because apparently the secretary had been crying at the front desk and telling people that she also had seen Lisa Smith driving around the place, and she lives in the estate and so does the secretary, and she's worried about potential bomb threats.
I love the way she says Lisa Smith from ISIS as if it's like Barry from EastEnders or H from Steps. Do you know what I mean? Like Lisa, as if that's the company that, well, I suppose that's the company that she worked for, you know. Jenny here from VHI. Una calling from the Beacon, you know. Lisa Smith here from ISIS. Are you tired of women thinking for themselves and homosexuals having human rights? Come on down to our open day at Sand Dune number 63, Eastern Syria. Do you know what I mean? Also, bomb threats. Why would Lisa Smith from ISIS, why would she be dropping bombs in suburban Waterford? Surely, I don't know. Did you say it was a librarian? That was, it's always the quiet ones. She didn't say it was a librarian, Mark. She said it was a secretary. You've just shoehorned in the librarian joke for the purpose of making that gag. We're on to you. Let's go.
Hi, Mark. Well, what's the crack? Mark, when my little one was about 3 years old, I had took myself off for a nice, relaxing bath. And of course, as 3-year-olds do, she was in and out like a yo-yo, disturbing the peace. So when she left on this one occasion, I jumped out of the bath and hid behind the bathroom door, and shouted, "Annie, help, help! The bath plug is sucking me in." She came running in as quick as anything, looked at the empty bath. She tiptoed slowly over towards the bath and looked straight down the plug hole and said, "Hello, Mummy?" I just feel like I need to say a disclaimer. There's absolutely no PTSD. She's absolutely fine. She's 8 years old. She's healthy. She's thriving. And she happily sits on a bath plug to this day.
Okay, when you're bollock naked with the water dripping all over the floor purely for the purpose of pretending to have been sucked down the drain in order to terrify your toddler, that's when you're taking the practical jokes far too far. By the way, I say this now with the total transparency that if I'm ever fortunate enough to be a father, I'm doing the exact same thing. That is absolutely help. Like, that is a fairly niche form of childhood terror. Do you know what I mean? Mum's been sucked down the drain like some sort of genie in Aladdin getting sucked back into the lamp. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the child rushing in to sort of see where you are down the drain. That is, phenomenal. I absolutely adore that. That's the way of spicing up your child's life in a unique, novel and humorous way that I'm a fan of. Let's go.
Hi, Mark. Up until recently, I believed that Kevin from the Wonder Years' best friend in the show was actually Marilyn Manson. And not only did I believe it, I loved telling people this really obscure story. Anytime we ever heard of Marilyn Manson, saw him anywhere, it's like, do you know that he's actually the actor from the Wonder Years, the real geeky guy with the glasses? Loved telling people this story. And turns out it was just a load of bullshit and one of those urban legends that everybody went around telling everyone. So yeah, gullible me.
Shout out to our Scottish listeners. I will say this. Of all the rumours I heard about Marilyn Manson growing up,
I know where you're going.
you know where I'm going with this. The most profoundly obvious one about Marilyn Manson was, and I hope some of you have heard this, otherwise you're going to think I'm a loon. The rumour doing the rounds when we were kids was that Marilyn Manson had his own ribs removed so he could give himself head. Did you have that?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, you've got to sort of, much like people going to George Ezra concerts or those who wear super dry, where is the pleasure? Do you know what I mean? In that instance, like, what part of the activity gives you any joy at all? I'll be riding shotgun. I'll be reaching for the shotgun, George. This music is asphyxiating in its melodic mundanity, and I am almost lightheaded with how bad the lyrics are. Do you know what I mean? Green, green grass. Brilliant. You've got a surface knowledge of landscaping, George. It doesn't blossom my garden or plant any seeds of sonic joy in my ears. Back to Marilyn Manson. Giving yourself head. I mean, we have to explore that for a second, Kieran. Whatever about the Catholic guilt that usually descends after, the most primitive form of self-care. Imagine that after giving... There isn't a drum of Listerine large enough in the land that would wash away the shame of self-suckage. Do you know what I mean? You would need a spiritual plumber to come in and unblock that drain of self-disgust. Hi, I'll have 2 kegs of Milton and a therapy session, please, barkeep. I'm after going down on myself in the car park. We're all aware of the solemn degradation that comes with catching your dog's eye when he's doing his business in the garden. Do you know that? You know when you look at your dog and the dog looks at you and he's doing a poo and you both sort of go, oh God, why have we looked at each other at this very moment? Imagine that multiplied by 72 trillion Nigerian dollars. Catching your own reflection in the mirror as you come up from doing the downward facing dog that evolves into you giving yourself head. Dérangement. Are you still a swallower now, Kieran? Thank you so much for listening to the Weekly Roast. Guys, I hope you know that it does genuinely make an enormous day-to-day difference to my happiness and well-being. And I really appreciate it. And I hope it does to you too. Escapism in this sort of way is very healthy and happy, and I hope you enjoy it. If you enjoy the show, please do me a solid and subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Mark Mehigan. Every week you'll get a brand new article for the weekly woes. You'll also get first access to merchandise, lots of bonus, exclusive, etc., etc. I would hugely appreciate it. The link is in the bio. Just send it. Just click there. It'll take you 90 seconds. Now, if you can't do that, that's okay. Share the podcast with a friend, subscribe, follow. You know all of the stuff. All of this helps grow the podcast even more. The last few weeks have seen us reach, I can't believe the growth. It's been phenomenal. So genuinely, thank you so much. And of course, thank you to my little boy, Kieran, who keeps the show on the road and keeps all the wheels in motion and gets it together every single week. So look, have a great week. Take care of yourselves. See you on the other side. All the best. Bye-bye.